When a person is chosen by Allah for something higher, for something deeper, for something that carries weight in this world and the next, it is not a gift wrapped in ease. It is a responsibility wrapped in hardship, tested with patience, and polished with pain. Many people think that if they are blessed, their life should be full of luxury, comfort, and admiration from others. But the reality of the chosen ones is very different. They are not chosen for the pleasures of this world. They are chosen for the mission of the hereafter. And to carry out that mission, they are trained, not pampered. One of the first things that happens to a chosen individual is the stripping away of their attachments. The very things they once relied on are removed, sometimes gradually, sometimes all at once. Why? Because Allah does not want them to lean on anyone but Him. Their comfort zone is shattered so they may find comfort in His remembrance. Their worldly ambitions are redirected so they may pursue what matters beyond this life. The very people they thought would be with them forever begin to fade, and they are left wondering why. But this is not cruelty. It is mercy in disguise. It is protection from distractions. When you are chosen, you are separated, not because you are not loved, but because you are being prepared. Prepared for something others cannot handle. This preparation is lonely, not because the person is unworthy of companionship, but because their level of clarity requires silence. Their level of understanding requires time away from noise. Their spiritual mission demands space. The chosen one is not always understood, because the path they walk is not commonly traveled. It is filled with moments of uncertainty, but it is also filled with powerful reminders that the one who chose them is always with them. Allah places such people in situations where they must look inward, rely upward, and move forward with trust. They are given pain to build endurance. They are given tests to strengthen their faith. They are chosen not because they are perfect, but because they are willing to be perfected through trials. People see them and wonder why they are so quiet, why they are distant, why they seem different. But what they don't realize is that being chosen means being burdened with a responsibility that sometimes cannot be explained. Their hearts ache not out of weakness, but out of purpose. Their tears fall not from despair, but from depth. They pray in the late hours not for the world to admire them, but because their soul finds peace when the world is asleep. That is the nature of the chosen soul. They are not selected to impress people. They are selected to impact lives in a way that only Allah sees. Being chosen comes with a price that includes being misunderstood, being judged, being doubted, and even being abandoned. But the one who is chosen does not seek validation from creation. They seek acceptance from the Creator. They understand that their loneliness is not a punishment, it is part of their training. They understand that their brokenness is not a weakness, it is the beginning of their transformation. And in that understanding, they move through life not with arrogance, but with humility. Not with bitterness, but with patience. And not with fear, but with faith that the one who chose them will never leave them alone. One of the most powerful signs that Allah is preparing someone for greatness is that He isolates them. Not out of anger or rejection, but out of wisdom and love. You will find that when a person is about to be elevated, they are pulled away from what they are used to. Their social circles start to shrink. People who used to be close suddenly drift away. Invitations become coming. Conversations becomes louder. It feels uncomfortable, it feels confusing, and it often hurts. But this is part of the process. Because elevation does not happen in the crowd. It happens in seclusion. When Allah wants to build a person, He removes distractions from their life. He places them in a space where they have no one to turn to but Him. No one to complain to except in dua. No one who truly understands them except the one who created their heart. This isolation teaches them reliance. It strengthens their connection with Allah. It teaches them to listen to their soul, to reflect on their purpose, and to understand their inner world. When they are surrounded by people, the noise of the world makes it difficult to hear the voice of the heart. But in isolation, the whispers of the soul become clear, and the light of guidance begins to shine. Some of the greatest people in history experienced their highest spiritual development in isolation. They were separated from society, sometimes by force, sometimes by choice. But in that loneliness, they discovered their strength. They learned to speak to Allah in ways that changed their entire existence. They learned patience, gratitude, and deep understanding. This is not just history. It is a pattern. It continues today. When you feel that life is pulling you away from the people you once loved and placing you in a season of solitude, ask yourself, is this isolation punishment or preparation? Often, people cry in their rooms, thinking they have been forgotten, but they don't realize that they're being chosen. Chosen to be close to Allah. Chosen to receive a unique type of training that others around them will never understand. Chosen to develop a resilience, a sincerity, a vision that only comes from being alone with your Lord. When the people stop calling, when the friends disappear, when the crowd no longer surrounds you, smile. Because this is not the end, it is the beginning of something meaningful. The world may turn away, but Allah is turning you toward Him. In that state of seclusion, the heart is purified, the distractions fade, the sins are confronted, the illusions of this world become clear, and you begin to understand that your value is not in how many people love you, but in how deeply Allah loves you. That is why isolation is not to be feared. It is to be embraced when it comes from Him. If you use it wisely, it becomes a doorway to spiritual strength. It becomes a season of deep inner growth. It becomes the foundation of your future success, both in this life and the next. When someone is broken, truly broken, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, it's easy to think that they are at their weakest. But in the sight of Allah, when a sincere heart breaks, it actually becomes more powerful. This world sees brokenness as defeat, as loss. But in the unseen realm, where angels record and hearts are measured, brokenness can be the very door to greatness. For the chosen ones, being broken is not a failure. It is part of their formation. Sometimes, life hits so hard that even the strongest collapse in tears. And in those moments of deep pain, when the heart can't carry the burden anymore, a person finally turns back to the one who was always waiting. That is why Allah allows some people to reach such low points. Not because He wants to hurt them, but because He wants to rebuild them stronger, purer, and more sincere. The chosen ones go through brokenness because their journey requires depth. They cannot lead others, guide others, heal others, unless they themselves have walked through the fire. You cannot comfort the broken if you've never felt pain. You cannot understand loneliness if you've never cried alone. You cannot inspire the hopeless if you've never been hopeless and still found hope in Allah. That's why the chosen ones are broken, not once but often. And each time, they rise again, not with pride but with humility, not with arrogance but with compassion, and most importantly, with reliance on the one who fixed their heart. When the world breaks you, it shatters your illusions, it humbles you. You start to see what really matters. You realize that wealth, status, and praise are temporary. You understand that people are limited, and that love from creation can be conditional. But when your heart is broken, and you fall into sujud, begging your Lord for strength, you taste something this world can never offer. The sweetness of being truly close to Allah. That moment, when your tears flow, and your words are only understood by Him, is the moment your heart starts to heal in the right direction. The chosen ones are not chosen because they're strong. They're chosen because they allow their brokenness to lead them to Allah. They admit their weakness, and in doing so, they are given strength. They fall into despair, and from that despair, they are lifted. They lose what they thought they could never live without, and they survive, not because of themselves, but because of Allah's mercy. Their brokenness becomes the reason they become unbreakable in faith. You will notice that the chosen ones are often the most empathetic, the most gentle, the most sincere. Why? Because life has taught them through pain. Their smile is not fake, it's resilient. Their silence is not emptiness, it's reflection. Their kindness is not weakness. It's the result of understanding what it means to be broken and still be able to give. Allah trains His beloved servants through hardship so they may become leaders who guide not with words alone, but with lived experience. Sometimes the scars remain, the memories linger, but they are no longer signs of loss. They are signs of survival. Signs that Allah carried you through something others would have collapsed under. And that is why your brokenness was necessary. Not to destroy you, but to prepare you. Because the mission you've been chosen for demands strength, patience, empathy, and unwavering reliance on the Almighty. And none of that comes without being broken first. When Allah chooses someone for a special journey, that journey often does not make sense to the people around them. Their life appears unusual. Their decisions may seem confusing. Their silence may seem strange. But the reality is, their journey is not meant to be understood by everyone. because it was never written for everyone, it was written for them, specifically, uniquely, and divinely. People start to question them. Why don't you go out more? Why don't you talk much anymore? Why are you always deep in thought? Why do you choose the harder path when there are easier options? But the chosen ones know that their life is not meant for public approval. Their path is not about popularity, it's about purpose. Their silence is not emptiness, it's full of remembrance. Their tears are not weakness, they are signs of purification. The world may not understand, but Allah understands, and that is enough. Chosen individuals often feel like they are carrying something heavy in their hearts, something they can't explain, even if they try. It is as if their soul is aware of something deeper, something beyond what the eyes can see. They walk through this world with a longing in their chest, a longing for peace, for clarity, for nearness to them apart. That longing sets them apart. It makes them different. And sometimes it makes them lonely. But that loneliness is sacred. It is filled with wisdom. It is filled with divine company. When others chase fame, they seek sincerity. When others desire to be seen, they prefer to be hidden. When others speak to be heard, they remain quiet to listen. This difference is not accidental. It is part of their design. Allah created them to see the world differently, to think differently, to feel deeply. That depth often separates them from the crowd. It makes them walk alone, not because they are unloved, but because their destination requires them to walk without distraction. They may not be able to explain why certain things affect them so much, why they cry during dua, why they feel uneasy in certain gatherings, why they feel close to Allah during hardship. It is because their heart has been awakened, their vision has been sharpened, and they no longer see the world as others do. This awakening creates a distance from others, but a closeness to Allah, and that trade is always worth it. When people misunderstand them, they don't waste time explaining, they leave it to Allah, because they know that their journey is not meant to impress others, it is meant to fulfill a divine purpose. And that purpose is often quiet, hidden, and misunderstood. But it is also sacred, honored, and guided. The chosen ones don't mind being misunderstood in the dunya if it means being understood in the heavens. They walk alone but never lonely, because they walk with Allah when someone feels deep pain, especially the type that shakes their heart, that causes sleepless nights and eyes filled with tears. They begin to question, why me? It is in those moments that they must remember, pain is not without reason. Pain in the life of the chosen ones is the greatest proof that they have been selected for something special. That pain is not a curse, it's not a punishment, it's an indication that Allah is working on them, molding them, preparing them for something their heart has not yet fully understood. The chosen ones are given pain because their mission is heavier than most. Their words will one day comfort others, so they must first feel what it means to break. Their hands will one day lift others, so they must first learn what it means to fall. Their hearts will one day guide others, so they must first walk through confusion and uncertainty. This is why their path is filled with hardship, because their future is filled with purpose. Allah does not waste a tear. He does not overlook a single sigh in the dark. Every moment of pain carries with it a lesson, a wisdom, and a secret growth. People often assume that those who suffer the most are cursed, but in the sight of Allah, it may be the opposite. Sometimes, those who are closest to Him are the ones He tests the most, not because He wants to destroy them, but because He wants to raise them. He wants them to reach levels in Jannah that cannot be earned through ease. So He places them in positions where they must cry, beg, plead, not because they are weak, but because He wants them to be strong through Him. That pain, those trials, those moments of feeling broken, they are not signs of failure. They are signs of divine attention. When you feel pain, it is as if Allah is calling you closer. The heart, when it is comfortable, forgets. But when it is shaken, it remembers. When everything is taken away, and all you have left is Allah, that is when you truly discover who He is, that pain purifies you. It removes the arrogance, it humbles the soul. It strips away the illusions of control, and it forces you to submit. And in that submission that cannot be explained, a peace that only the chosen ones taste, there is a hidden strength in the one who still prays while their world is falling apart. There is honor in the heart that is shattered yet still makes dua. There is nobility in the soul that keeps trusting even when it has been disappointed by people. That is why pain is sacred for the chosen ones. It is not there to paralyze them. It is there to activate them, to ignite something inside that only hardship could reveal. Their pain becomes their power. Their heartbreak becomes their turning point. And their patience becomes their proof of sincerity. When you see someone smiling through pain, comforting others while they themselves are bleeding, lifting others when they themselves are burdened, know that this is a chosen soul. Their strength does not come from this world. It comes from a deeper connection, a secret bond with their Creator. And that is something the world cannot give, nor take away. That is why pain for the chosen ones is never wasted. It is the ink with which their story is written. A story of resilience, of sincerity, of silent worship and unseen elevation. A story that continues to unfold, not in the spotlight, but under the watchful gaze of the most merciful in this life. Being chosen is not about fame, wealth, or being celebrated by the world. It is about being trusted by Allah with a journey that refines the soul. A journey that passes through isolation, heartbreak, silence, and sincere struggle. The chosen ones are not chosen for comfort. They are chosen for transformation. Their pain is not a mark of weakness. It is proof of divine purpose. Their loneliness is not a sign of abandonment. It is a space created for deep connection with their Lord. The world may never understand their tears, their quiet strength, or the battles they face behind closed doors, but Allah knows, and He sees every moment. So if you feel broken, alone, or misunderstood, do not despair. It may just be that you are among those whom Allah is preparing, protecting, and elevating for something far greater than you can imagine.